This workflow and a lot of how I did things was for me very new because I've never done a lip sync. I've never done a video edited to music, especially like within Blender. Like I've edited clips and then edit them in post separately. But I wanted to, my goal was to have, like the song is 3.5 minutes. I wanted to have a full Blender scene where if I press play, it just plays and the guy in the middle is lip syncing the entire song and the characters on the side are playing, at least like looping enough to play the duration of the entire song. The reason I wanted that was because I could then have them be where I wanted, and then I could play around with like maybe I want a shot here, or maybe I want a shot like the characters are basically just on loop playing, and then I can play around with camera angles. That's what I was gearing for. That's really what I wanted. And then I was able to just focus on getting the shots because the thing that I think I'm good at is lighting and then composition. So if I could have all the little nuanced stuff like animations and everything like that already like locked in, I could just kind of fly the camera around and play with different angles. This rig here, this one here is the one that came from Rigify Pro. It's kind of like the Rigify rig, and so everything is tied up. It's really nice. The character's head is from a big, medium, small pack. The Cyberpunk pack is where I think I got this guy, and there's no rigged characters in the Cyberpunk pack, I don't think. And so I just kind of ended up ripping a bunch of people apart. I think I'm bouncing around way too much. Like now everything that I'm getting into, there's like it's like a splintering to a million other things I can talk about. But I'm gonna just try to stay high level here. I'm not gonna try to go into it too deeply. Yeah, so Tetsuo's character is the only thing rigged is like the face, and the head is like a separate thing from the body. So the body is a separate, just kind of got the body from my original file, turned off the head, and then just brought in, like swapped in a whole new head. And that's really it. Like nothing else is really connected. You know, it's all just stationary. These guys in the background, this is like a rig that came with this character. So this guy is kind of like a combination of two characters from the big, medium, small pack. Some clothes from the Cyberpunks pack, and then just kind of combined. The instruments were purchased by the client for me to use, so that was like super helpful because they knew exactly like what would work, what would be good enough. This guy is another one where it's like two rigs combined. The head came from a separate model, and then the body. All of them are from big, medium, small though. So luckily I was able to like customize the character a little bit, just strip off most of the clothes, most of the gear, and just keep enough to make it look good enough and to play to what the client was basically asking for. If you guys remember my original like Tetsuo scene that I made, the one that I made from the manga, they saw that and they were like, "We love this. Can we just use this as the base for this video?" And so that was super helpful because a lot of the work was already done and they loved it. So there wasn't this phase of like figure out what we like. They already told me what they liked, and it was something that I already had. And that really helped me because it helped me keep a certain threshold of quality. It let me know like I don't have to develop certain things beyond like what I already have because they liked it. Yeah, that was another like positive into working with these guys. So, but yeah, this is the very first scene. There's a moon here in the back. This big cube is like a volume cube. And it's kind of interesting to see everything, right? Like if I go into the camera view, so here you can see this is the original shot. Here's how it starts. It kind of goes from 0 all the way to where around here, 1400. That's where I'd cut. That's the first shot. And the way I have it set up is, let me open. So here's the original song. They were able to send me like the acapella when I wanted to do just the vocal, but then they were also able to send me like the final eventually when they were done with it, and then I could like swap that in. So these markers here, they are for this guy playing because each one of these markers is like when the keys get pressed down. So if I select him, yeah, you can see these are all the keyframes, and basically at each one of these spots, he like presses down like that. I just made these measurements to tell me, even if it was like lagging or if it was behind, that this was accurate. So at this point, he would press down on the keys again. So I would just move the keyframes to that spot. And I would just do that for everything. So every time he's pressing the keys down, that's when there's a note hit. And there's like a quiet part and then another note hit like that. So that's kind of how I animated everything for this whole section. You don't really see it in the final, but in the end, I have like his individual fingers kind of moving around because there's like individual notes being played. And I think that's not really like hand animated. That's just like noise modifier stuff. But you don't even really see this kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the final that you just don't really see. And that's fine because the final can look like how it needs to look to serve the purpose of the project. But for me, I like having like the flexibility. If I did want to get like a shot over here, then he's playing and everything is good. I don't have to adjust the animation to that. This is just, I think, a really cool layout of my way of working. And I talk about this in my Blender talk where I really only build out for what the camera sees. So here, they really like this composition and they were like, we don't want the camera to get too close to the character because it's not really about the character singing. It's just a lyric video. They're gonna have like lyrics on top of the video. Like the way the character lip syncs doesn't have to be super accurate. It can just kind of be up and down. But I personally wanted the lip sync to be at least a little bit accurate because, again, like, you know, for the freedom, if I wanted to get a certain angle, I didn't want to catch it looking bad when I'm at that stage and then I have to go back and like redo some parts. So I just made the lip sync for the most part time out really well, and some parts where the camera is really far away, the mouth is just, you know, simply moving up and down. So let me jump into this gray box view so you can see a little bit more easier when I play the music and you can see how it moves.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for the daily races.
So when I go into the character, one thing I'll show you here. So this is a little bit of how I did the lip sync, is I created these like Visemes, or there's a term and I forgot what it is. Like I think it's Visemes or Visemes or something, but it's basically you just make like all the different mouth shapes, and then because they're in the asset library, I just select. I'm not really going to do a demo for it here, but you would just double click on it and set a keyframe for that position. And so I went through and I have like L, F, all of these very obvious mouth sounds, and they don't always match up. Sometimes the L looks better for like a sound that is E, but that's the mouth just looks better that way. So I just kind of went by eye, by ear, and I would pace out all the animations. And it's surprising once you kind of get the presets of the poses down. I was just firing through the lip sync. I was making progress very, very fast. It was surprising how quickly you can animate lip syncs once you have all the Visemes like set up and everything. So that was really fun. Like it was really frustrating getting it rigged and set up, but then once you're in that flow, it was really, really fun. It gave me a lot of confidence and just makes me want to do it for other things. So this guy is lip syncing pretty much throughout the whole song. Like here, there's like parts where it's just moving up and down. And then I have him blinking. It's like set on loop. The other stuff that I kind of showed in my original video was like this little empty that's controlling displacement. And the displacement is adding to his robe and some of his clothes. I also found that you can see like where the cloth is loose. If I move this, if I move this, it's kind of blowing some of the parts. And that was nice to figure out because I found out that like, oh, I can just use weight paint to dictate how strongly I want that to influence. It seems like a no-brainer, but you know, I want a little bit more fidelity. I want something else to be moving. So yeah, that kind of worked out pretty well. And the weight paint is not too heavy, so it's like, it's not moving it too much, but it's just enough to, you know, to really get that extra little bit of detail. Really handy stuff. And even here, I was really proud of this like loose part. Like I just kind of looked at where the cloth was the most loose and put a little weight paint there. And then when I move the displacement, it just looks like blowing wind, honestly. It works really, really well. In the end, in the final shot where it's like the silhouette, that's where you see, I put a displacement on the hair as well. So yeah. A lot of the way that this environment and stuff is set up is just to frame the shot. So if we start all the way here and then we end around here, yeah, we stop around here. Nothing really has keyframes on it. The camera is like the main thing that has a keyframe on it. And then this guy, like I said, he's just being looped and he's playing to the sound. But like, look at how he's playing. He's got like he's putting his back into it. I love it. This is so good. Like, so this is what I got from Dennis. Like, this is so cool. I could just sit here and watch it all day. It's so well done. It's been a little bit modified by me, so like the fingers clip and all this kind of stuff. But from the angle that you see it, it doesn't matter. But man, that just looks so good. I'm just really happy with the results here. A lot of the way that I set up the scene was kind of like this, almost like a stage. So there's a volume here and there's a volume here. And then the moon, this is actually an interesting effect. So I did this in the original one. This is again kind of like the fun or the oddity of Eevee. The moon is outside of the scene. You can see the moon is, it doesn't really have a texture or a material. But it's outside of the scene. It's outside of these boxes, these volume boxes. But the light that the quote unquote light that the moon is emitting is inside the volume. And the reason for that is that if I jump into the final view, can I click on it? Yeah, this is the moon, and then there's a light, if I can find it. Oh my God, where is the light? I can't click on it. Did I make it like unclickable? Oh, it might be parented to the moon or something. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so, aha. Okay, so the moon is in wireframe, but let me see if I can make it not wireframe because I think you're gonna want to see it. So the moon is just like, doesn't have a material on it. And then I have a couple area lights just pointing up at it to create a little bit of that light from underneath. And what's happening here is that the light is visible because of the volume that's there. But it's not really, it's just almost like a 2D thing that's on top or that's in front of the moon. But it looks like it's the moon, right? If I take this, oh my God. If I take this and look, if I rotate it, like if I rotate on the Z-axis, if I rotate it directly pointing at the camera, it's like a pure disc. But if I rotate it a little bit off axis, then we kind of get this really cool gradient effect. So now all I gotta do is like watch that edge and line it up with the edge of the with the moon, and now it looks like one big sphere. I hope that made sense. I'm really proud of that effect. It's like a cheat or like a workaround for an effect that looks like more complicated than it actually is. But yeah, so as I have the camera backing up, the moon is large and the moon is not scaling. So what I had to do is I just kind of had to, pick a point, kind of place it, okay, here, that's good. And then when I go forward, it's like out of place now. So just kind of move it, scale it up a little bit, just get it close enough. So then when as it plays, it kind of stays in place in relation to the camera and all the parallax and stuff like that. This was an effect that I did in the original, but I didn't I didn't think about it. So then when it came time to doing it in the actual animation, I had to remember and kind of like relearn the effect. But yeah, this is a really cool solution to getting this like soft edge of the moon, hard edge of the moon, but it's really just the light that's in front of the moon that looks like that. You see how it's like a disc. It looks really cool. And you can obviously adjust that by the angle of the light or by the properties of the volume scatter. One other thing compositionally that I wanted to do was I wanted foreground light to be red and background light to be blue. And to me, that just helped like separate the different areas of the composition, but also it kind of made sense. So like where Tetsuo is, I kind of imagined that he's like in the manga or something. This whole scene is kind of in water. And I think it was like red at the bottom and then blue up top because of the sunset and all these kinds of things. But for me, to help me kind of create a better visual consistency, I just wanted to keep it red around Tetsuo. He's kind of like the baddie, he's like the bad guy or the main character. He's got the red cape, like all the lighting, all the red warm lighting needs to be on him. And he can have like the top down lighting from, there's like a million area lights here. But he has like this blue top-down lighting, and then some other lights here. Let's see if I can zoom in on the lighting on him. He has this light here, which is a blue. So that's kind of doing the rim light action that you see. And I want blue light to be coming from his right side because that's where the moon is. The moon is kind of like this overarching light source for blue light. So things that are further in the background are also primarily have a blue light on them because they're closer to the moon, kind of like in this setting. Things that are closer to us are red. And I think that also kind of helps separate the scene a little bit. So the things in here are red, things beyond, let's say like this point, are they can only be lit by blue, and that I think helps create the more graphic effect and separate the scene, and kind of push things foreground, push things into the background. But the Tetsuo character, he has a few bit of lights on him. So he has this rim light, this blue rim light. He has this other, not as bright, but it's almost like a fill light. So if I turn it off and on, you can see it's just like a fill, just to kind of bring in this. There was a lot of moments where I loved this, you know, this like really dark silhouette, a little bit of warm light, and then this like really sharp silhouette. I love this. I think this, I was battling between keeping it just like this because I really love the really hard contrast between the rim light, like the cold rim light, and the warm fill light. But I just you just couldn't see him, and especially after doing like the lip sync work, I really wanted you to see his face, even if it was like a little bit, like just a little bit. Like I said, in the final video, you don't really see it close enough. It's not like 4K, it's not high res enough for you to see him really lip syncing to everything. But I think this light helps put our focus on him, because if we look at kind of the amount of light, so this guy, the foreground person, has a rim light and then a fill orange light. This guy has a bit of a rim light and then a somewhat of a fill orange light. So he has two lights, and then this guy really only has one light, has like just a blue light in front of him. So in terms of like hierarchy of amount of lights, it also makes sense for the main character to have more lights, or at least one more light than like this guy before him. So that's another thing I just kind of think about and like justify like some of the art direction. So yeah, this guy has a bigger color range, a light range on him, and then less, and then even less, all the way to the back. One other thing I really loved was, oh, let me show you. There is a negative light here somewhere. Yeah, this one? Yeah, this one is -1000. And that is what is doing this really harsh, weird, like blue. It's just kind of like eating away at the light there. And I like I like that it does that because it helps separate this foot. If I turn it off, you can see that from a distance, like this distance, gets a little muddy here, like where the edges of things are, because the value of his like foot and the clothing kind of matches the background a little bit and doesn't really stand out enough. So adding that negative light, not only does it kind of add this really harsh, dark area, but it also forces an edge on this foot here, which stands out against the background, puts one here as well. It just like fills in the space a little bit more in a dramatic way. It also puts like a really, really dark shadow on this like scaffolding thing in the front, and that helps like separate it from the background. It's a little, it's a little bit broken. This is Blender 5.0 beta, by the way. So I was working in Blender 4.5 at first, and then I just started to notice it would slow down. And I said, screw it, let me just download the latest version of Blender. It always just runs a little bit more efficient, a little bit faster. So that's, I ended up wrapping this project out in Blender 5.0 beta. And negative lights, I think, I showed a reel about this, but negative lights work way better with way more predictability, way more accuracy for a negative light. So like I kind of know where it's gonna hit, where it's gonna like how it's gonna impact it. And again, this is one of those things that's like purely stylistic. So no matter where you put it, it can kind of make, like this looks cool, right? Like fully silhouette. We have the red, we have the blue, like beautiful, but it's too dark. So how do we position it in a way where we kind of get what we want? We kind of get the graphic look like this is, but that's too much. So it took a little bit of balancing to find the right place for it. One other thing I'll talk about is the lighting that's in here. So the scaffolding thing is in the foreground. I love that because it helps like create this, like this motion. I love this. I love when in a composition, I can block off the corners and keep your eye like focused on the center, or on the characters. So what this does is literally ramps you into this guy. And so like normally you probably wouldn't see him, but because this is here, I think it helps like frame this bottom part because it's just a bunch of noise down here. And but this right here is literally just like blocking off this corner. It's kind of blocking off this corner. And then this moon is like really highlighting this guy in the middle. So it's just like, you know, kind of standard compositional stuff, but all stuff that I think about and that I kind of worry about as I'm working. Oh yeah, I loved the lighting here. Volumetrics, and I think I mentioned this in my Blender talk, but Volumetrics and Eevee have gotten so much better. They're better. Look at this. Oh my God, this is so good. Better than Cycles, I think. Like for me, if I prioritize speed and if I can have it look good at the end, that's even better. It's like icing if I can have it look good and be fast. But it being fast is kind of like the first thing I care about because I can make it look good in different ways. But this is amazing. Like volumetrics in Cycles have been like the bane of my existence, but this is just fun. This is so much fun and the lighting looks good. Like look at these shadows. You get these abstract shadows like wrapping around the pillars from that light being inside of the scaffolding. So if I take this light, you can see how the shadows change. Look at that. That's so cool. Look at how those shadows change. Just from this one light that's behind this structure, you get these really cool abstract shadows cast onto the character. And so because it has like this really soft fall off, it looks like a gradient, it makes it even more fun to play with. Like maybe I want the top to be darker. It's kind of like light going through clouds and kind of creating this like dappled light effect. It's the same thing, and it can create detail, it can create interest. And even when the light isn't hitting the pillar, you still have this like really harsh rim light mixed with like just kind of ambient color that creates a really striking and like kind of a graphic effect that I like. So this as well is something that I can just kind of sit around and play around with all day because there's so many variations. Like not only am I looking at the shadow that's being cast onto this pillar as well, the secondary one, you know, that also gets some like personality with these shadows. So that was really fun to like play around with and like and figure out. But yeah, so this is really the first shot. In terms of like animation, so we can see the camera is just like going close to back. And I think it has maybe a little bit of it has a little bit of focal change. So it starts wider, but as we go back, it kind of becomes a little bit of longer lens. So it goes from 100 to 120 millimeters. And let me see if I kept that at 100. Yeah, I kind of like moving the camera and zooming. It creates this like dolly zoom effect. It's not really noticeable, I don't think, but it just kind of like, if you do notice it, it makes it feel a little bit more surreal and make the scene feel like it has more depth. Because when we start close and it's wider, and then we kind of not only just pull back, but we also increase the focal length, there's a little bit more subtle parallax changes that happen as well. So that's the first shot. You can see I have other cameras here. Those were just like early versions, like me trying to figure out, okay, what other camera angles do I want? Do I want a camera angle like this? Do I want one here? Yeah, so these other ones are just like me kind of playing around, like I said. But ultimately, I think with the client, they were like, we really don't want to see too many tight close-ups of the shot. We like this specific composition that you had originally, so let's just kind of go with that. So yeah, made it easier for me, less guesswork. But yeah, so that's the first shot. I hope I was able to explain and kind of cover over everything without rambling or repeating myself too much. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about something I might have mentioned in this video that you want to see a deeper dive in, or if you have questions about this project or these scenes, let me know. I'll see you in the next one.